Good morning, I'm Maiki Oreta and you're watching Business 360, where we break down the numbers, connect the dots, and give you the developments and the insights you need to navigate, adapt, and lead. Let's dive right in. The Philippine government's outstanding debt rises to 16.75 trillion pesos as of end April, raising fresh concerns over fiscal space. The Trade Department sets an aggressive target, eyeing 1.75 trillion pesos in investments for the year. And tech billionaire Elon Musk blasts President Donald Trump's spending bill, calling it a, quote, disgusting abomination that threatens America's fiscal stability. Let's take a look at how global financial markets performed overnight as investors weighed chip stock gains against growing trade uncertainty. U.S. stocks closed higher, led by Nvidia and other chip makers, as markets await fresh developments in trade talks between Washington and its key partners. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping are also expected to speak this week after Trump accuses Beijing of violating a Geneva-based agreement on tariff roadblocks. China denies the claim, however, vowing to safeguard its interests and calling the accusation baseless.
You've got kind of a mismatch of economic data. I think the big one for investors is going to be a pretty solid JOLTS jobs report. There's a lot of anxiety about where the labor market stands today. We get some good data, some data that shows some cracks. And ultimately, if you're going to build the bull case for the economy, you have to bring the labor market and the consumer along. So I think getting that pop in job openings and seeing a little bit of resilience from the labor market is helping things today. And then you have continued momentum from big tech and AI adjacent names. So that obviously is helping given the concentration there.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average edged higher by 0.5%. The S&P 500 gained 0.6%, and the Nasdaq higher by 0.8%. Over in Europe, markets also rise. London's FTSE 100 adds 0.2%. Germany's DAX higher by 0.7%, and France's CAC 40 up by 0.3%. Here at home, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas tightens its grip on digital fraud, mandating all supervised financial institutions to deploy real-time detection systems, investigate suspicious accounts, and temporarily hold funds when fraud is suspected. This comes as the Anti-Financial Account Scamming Act takes effect, with BSP Circulars 1213, 1214, and 1215 now in force. The measures are designed to protect consumers and safeguard trust in the digital finance ecosystem. Circular 1213 requires banks and e-money players with complex digital products, or high transaction volumes to build strong real-time fraud management systems. Circular 1214 grants the BSP access to bank and financial account information, even overriding bank secrecy, foreign deposit, and data privacy barriers in cases of suspected fraud. Circular 1215 allows financial institutions to temporarily hold funds involved in disputed electronic transfers with clear protocols for verification and coordination. This signals stronger regulatory backing for the country's digital finance shift, ensuring greater consumer confidence, lower compliance risks, and a safer environment for online transactions. The Philippine government's outstanding debt climbs to 16.75 trillion pesos as of end April, sparking new debate on fiscal sustainability, budget priorities, and how much room the economy still has without overheating. Bureau of Treasury data shows the figure edges up from 16.68 trillion pesos in March and is over 1.7 trillion pesos higher than the same period last year. The Treasury describes the increase as modest, cushioned by a stronger peso, but analysts warn that the structural pressure is building, with interest payments rising, growth slowing, and revenues leveling off. The Philippines faces tough decisions ahead on how to finance development without compromising its credit standing. Economists say that the debt path will increasingly shape investor confidence, budget reform, and the country's ability to respond to future shocks. President Marcos Jr. tours NAIA Terminal 3, putting the spotlight on a major infrastructure revamp already underway. The president inspects new facilities for OFWs, immigration, and ground transport, all designed to streamline passenger flow and improve connectivity. He praises the changes under NAIA Infrastructure Corporation, a private consortium led by Bilyonaryo Ramon Ang's San Miguel Corporation, now in charge of modernizing the 76-year-old terminal. The group targets a near doubling of annual capacity from 32 to 60 million passengers through high-tech systems and full-scale upgrades. The full overhaul wraps by September, promising a world-class airport experience that raises the bar for Philippine gateways. President Bongbong Marcos vows to protect workers' rights and welfare as his administration faces growing pressure to deliver meaningful wage hikes and push through long-delayed labor reforms. The president makes the commitment during a dialogue with labor leaders at the Goldenberg Mansion in Malacanang, emphasizing a push for dignified work, fair pay, and a secure future for Filipino families. The Trade Union Congress of the Philippines confirms the meeting, saying urgent issues around job security, wage boards, and workplace rights were discussed. TUCP is urging the passage of key measures, including the Union Formation Act and the Workers' Right to Strike Act, amid growing demands for stronger protections and greater bargaining power. The push comes as inflation erodes real wages and the informal economy continues to grow, forcing lawmakers and business leaders to confront deeper questions about job quality, social equity, and Philippine competitiveness. Dito Telecommunity, the country's third major telco, comes under fire as immigration agents arrest 39 Chinese nationals at its BGC office, raising fresh questions about its use of foreign contractors. Dito, a joint venture between Udena Corporation and China Telecommunications, launched in 2021 to break the duopoly of PLDT and Globe. The company insists that the detained individuals are technical staff from accredited partners brought in to support its standalone 5G network. However, immigration officials say that the foreigners lack valid travel documents and are working for entities not covered by their visas. The raid comes amid allegations that Dito has been employing hundreds of undocumented foreign nationals, triggering a wider government crackdown. The 39 arrested are now in detention, with deportation proceedings underway. As ASEAN powers ahead with growth, the region faces a growing threat: energy shortfalls. Now the solution, a connected grid that moves electricity across borders. Sujin Kim has this report.
As energy demand skyrockets across the ASEAN region, calls are intensifying for the interconnection of national power grids to secure supply, lower costs, and future-proof economic growth. ASEAN is home to nearly 700 million people, and that number continues to grow. Driving this energy surge, the expansion of data centers, widespread digitization, and a new wave of AI-based applications.
With this growth in the region comes also surging demand for energy. The access to energy will increasingly become a critical constraint to economic growth and jobs in the ASEAN region as a whole and in each country. That's number one point why it is important.
Despite climate targets and global net zero commitments, 80% of the region's energy supply still comes from fossil fuels, highlighting the need for deeper, faster transformation. The proposed ASEAN power grid aims to create a unified power market across member states by 2045, enabling cross-border electricity trade and investment flows.
A unified power market attracts more investment, creates more jobs, reduces risks for cross-border energy projects, but also a unified grid helps optimize energy investments on grid and generation across the region. Energy security is another big benefit, sharing electricity resources between countries in times of shortage and or peak demand, system resilience, right?
But for the Philippines to catch up in terms of both technical capacity and grid readiness, over $16 billion in investments will be required.
Roughly speaking, we estimate at least there will be a need for $100 million just for the transmission investments in the ASEAN region.
The challenge goes beyond cross-border connections. It includes building up transmission infrastructure, strengthening domestic grids, and expanding storage capacity to stabilize supply. Sujin Kim, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
The Philippine peso is seen extending its rally against the dollar, with analysts projecting stronger gains through early next year, backed by easing monetary policy and better trade inflows. MUFG Global Markets Research says the peso's strength is fueled by expectations of more rate cuts from the Bangko Sentral and improving investment and export momentum. The Tokyo-based team forecasts the peso to appreciate to 54.50 against the dollar by the first quarter of 2026. It expects the peso to average 55.60 in the third quarter, then gain further to 55 by the year end. A stronger peso means relief on import costs, but also tighter margins for exporters and BPO firms. Currency moves could also shape pricing, strategy, and earnings guidance into 2026. The Agriculture Department extends fish and seafood imports permits until end June, a move to boost supply amid shipping delays and seasonal shortfalls. So far, only a quarter of the approved 25,000 metric tons has arrived, as importers struggle with tight timelines and out-of-season availability. Agriculture Secretary Francisco Tu Laurel Jr. says the extension gives importers more time to adjust to new rules designed to curb food inflation. The import list includes salmon, cod, squid, and lobster, mostly for use in hospitality and food service sectors, with sardines as the only exception. With the new guidelines in place, the DA expects the remaining import volume to be fully utilized in the coming weeks. For food businesses and consumers, this could help stabilize prices and prevent fresh pressure on inflation as supply chains struggle to keep up. The country's rice stockpile rises sharply in May, growing by nearly 300,000 metric tons as supply levels improve ahead of the lean season. Philippine Statistics Authority data shows rice inventory as of May 1 hits 2.37 million metric tons, which is up 14.2% from 2.08 metric tons a year ago. Of that, 49.4% or 1.17 million metric tons is stored by households, while commercial players hold another 33.9% or over 800,000 metric tons. The remaining 16.8% or about 397,000 metric tons is stored in National Food Authority warehouses. The surge in stocks comes as the government monitors rice prices and import strategy, crucial for containing food inflation and stabilizing supply during the critical mid-year period. We're taking a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and the narratives that matter most to your bottom line. Welcome back. Let's check on Asian markets this Wednesday morning. Let's take a look at how Asia's doing. Right now, the Nikkei 225 is in the green, higher by 0.9%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index is in the green as well, up by 0.6%, and Shanghai's Composite higher by 0.3%. Now, over in Singapore, the market there is going the other way. Straits Times Index is trading a little lower. It's down by just 0.1% in early trade. Here at home, the Philippine market extended gains Tuesday on expectations May inflation, which will be out tomorrow, will slow further, which will pave the way for more rate cuts by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Investors also welcomed recent tax reforms aimed at boosting capital market activity. Yesterday, the PSCI closed at higher by 1% to 64.12. Value turnover was thin at just under 6 billion pesos. Taking a look at how the market's doing today, as of 10:21 this morning, the main gauge is in the green, higher by 0.1% to 64.21. Broader all shares index trading flat with a slight upward bias. As for the sub-indices, the gains are coming from the financials and the services sectors. while the industrial holding firms, property and mining and oil counters are limiting the market's advance right now. So far, 187 million shares have been traded, valued at a little over 1 billion pesos, at 1.1 billion right now. So far, market breadth is positive. We've got 68 advancers, 58 decliners, while 43 stocks remain unchanged. Now, over in the currency market, the peso opens weaker at 55.80 to the greenback, depreciating from its previous close of 55.72. The Trade and Industry Department is bent on hitting its investment target of more than 1 trillion pesos for this year, despite a slow start. Sujin Kim has the details.
The Department of Trade and Industry targets 1.75 trillion pesos in total investments for 2025. But as of May, only 329 billion pesos in committed investments have been recorded, barely 20% of the full-year goal.
We're really hoping to hit the 1.75. That's really the goal.
Trade Secretary Cristina Roque is optimistic the target can be reached, citing strategic alignment across more than 30 government agencies working in sync. A memorandum of understanding was signed to formalize the Investments Facilitation Network, or InfoNet, a multi-agency system designed to speed up and streamline strategic investment approvals.
This JMC formalizes a more coordinated, transparent, and timely approach to progressing strategic investment applications. We now have 38 member agencies working together to address common investor concerns, from permitting and taxation to customs procedure and incentives.
From day one, the administration of President BBM has been putting in place bold and sweeping reforms to position the Philippines as an attractive investment destination in Southeast Asia, to be able to provide thousands, if not millions, of jobs to our fellow countrymen.
Secretary Frederick Go says the administration is determined to match, if not surpass, the 1.95 trillion in total investments registered in 2024.
This is great news, but at the same time, it is a challenge, because now that becomes the base. That is now the statistic that we have to beat in 2025 and all the way to 2028.
Despite external headwinds, including geopolitical uncertainties and tariff risks, DTI insists its focus remains clear: to deliver on its trade and industry goals and position the Philippines as a prime investment hub in the region. Sujin Kim, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
For the first time since the Philippines joined the Times Higher Education Asia University Rankings in 2017, not a single local university made it to the top 500. These rankings, published by the UK-based Times Higher Education, or the THE, are one of the most respected benchmarks of academic excellence in the world. They evaluate universities across 5 core areas: teaching, research environment, research quality, international outlook, and industry engagement. This year, Ateneo de Manila University and the University of the Philippines tied for the country's highest placement in the 501 to 600 bracket. De La Salle University, Mapui University, and the University of Santo Tomas joined Mindanao State University's Iligan Institute of Technology, or MSU-IIT, in the 601 plus group. But even as others slipped, MSU-IIT entered the rankings for the very first time, a rare feat for a regional state university. Joining us now is MSU-IIT Chancellor, Professor Alizedni Ditucalan, to talk about what this means for Mindanao and for Philippine higher education as a whole. Chancellor, good morning and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Maiki, for having me.
And congratulations, your first time ever in the THE Asia rankings. What does this recognition mean for your school as an institution, and what does it mean for higher education in the Philippines as a whole?
Okay. Well, definitely this recognition, Maiki, is a great achievement for the university. It affirms that MSU-IIT is now in the league of the best university in the world, research-intensive university. This also, I think, a realizations of our internationalization mantra, which is leading Mindanao to the world. Now, I think we can say that MSU-IIT is also leading Philippines to the world. But I think it's more importantly, allow me to highlight that I think this is a powerful message for democratizations of quality higher educations. That you don't have to go to Metro Manila to be able to access world-class educations.
And yeah, I think for those in the South, you're right there for them.
And I think they should inspire other regional universities, really with the right, I think with the right strategy and support. We can actually bring more universities in the Times Higher Education.
Did you set out to achieve this goal, Chancellor Dito Kalan?
This is a deliberate goal, I must say, Mikey. When I was elected as Chancellor of MSU IIT way back in 2022, it's really part of the plan. I really had a conversation. So we started doing a strong advocacy for the faculty, really to publish, so that we'll be able to breach the required criteria for the ranking.
Times Higher Education, they're big on research.
Yes,
and
that's correct.
that was what you focused on to put yourself on the map, so to speak. What investments did you make within your campus to pave the way for this recognition?
Well, I must acknowledge the contributions of our previous leaders who have really built the enabling environment for MSU IIT. The faculty development, quite a good number of our faculty are really foreign trained, and they bring with them, that research culture from their universities. So it's really on research productivity that we've really invested. We've also reformed some of our policies, to really for the incentivized faculty to publish their work.
Yeah, and so I'm asking also in the context because the THE Asia rankings, they're big on research output.
That's correct.
So specifically in your case, what you did was you published in peer journals research material, and that was what helped improve your rankings. So do you suggest that Philippine universities, bar none, invest in research infrastructure to better improve our rankings overall in this global test thing?
You're absolutely right with that, Mikey. In fact, if we really try to frame universities, it should really be doing a lot of research, because a university should be creating new knowledge, and you create new knowledge through research. So I think but of course they have to meet the eligibility requirement, which is they have to publish 1,000 publications for the straight 5 years, for them to be able to reach the ranking.
Research is great, but a problem that we have here in the Philippines is the skills gap between what's taught and what employers, what industries need. What would you say is the state of education in the Philippines, and are we meeting the needs of industries and employers specifically?
Well, I think the Education Committee, Congressional Committee, did publish the report of the status of our educations, and I think it's a sad reality that our education is in crisis.
Yeah.
And I think one of those things that we need to address is really the gaps, the gaps of theories and practice.
Right.
So we really have to revisit our curriculum, because I think one of the major challenges of our programs are really
because the research is great
loaded.
because it helps increase our standing in these global rankings, but however we also need to make sure that the research that we embark on, that we invest so much time in, is also practicable and will lead to future employment within the Philippines.
That's correct.
Okay, how would you, we'll talk about higher education only. How would you describe the state of higher education in the Philippines today?
Well, I think if we compare our higher educations with our neighbors, I think we are actually, to be honest, we are lagging behind. The fact that there are only 6 universities in the ranking shows really the status of our higher education.
And not only that, Chancellor Dito Kalan, no Filipino university made it to the top 500 in this year's rankings. So how would you describe the state of higher education in the country today, and what do we need to do? We have a new head of CHED. We have CHED Commissioner Shirley Agrupis, and we've got new lawmakers. What would you like to see from them so we can improve higher education in the Philippines?
Well, I think there is no substitute to providing really the right support for educations, invest in educations. We need to put more funding to educations. That's the way forward. And I'm confident with the new chair of the commission, knowing that she was a former president of Mariano Marcos State University. I think she understands the needs of university.
What are the biggest structural barriers that universities in the Philippines face today?
But I think, well, of course,
Apart from funding.
well, of course, we need also to revisit some of our policies. You know, the policies of the Commission on Higher Education. We have to be more innovative, I think. There's also need to strengthen the academia and industry collaborations. We really need our industry to be investing on research, provide funding for universities to conduct research. I think these are important pillars for us to be able to compete globally, Mikey.
Any specific asks? What would you like to see within the first 100 days of our new CHED Commissioner Agrupis and the new lawmakers and the old ones too?
Okay, of course, one, I think they have to sit down and revisit some of the policies in CHED that really needs to be revisited, allow more flexibility for our universities.
What are the policies that need to be revisited?
Well, I
Chancellor?
think we are quite so stringent, for example, in the evaluations of universities to be given a certificate of program compliance. I think we have to migrate to a more of a principle-based policy of evaluations. I am also hopeful with our lawmakers to now, I think, to provide more funding to our universities and to our educational institutions.
Okay, what excites you most about this new chapter for MSU IIT now that you've made it to the Asia rankings of THE?
Well, aside from we are of course we are happy that we made it, but it's, you know, Mikey, this is also a huge responsibility. The moment that you're already on top, I think sustaining that is a major challenge and further improving that. Because I think MSU IIT now serves as an ambassador of Philippine higher education in general, and we really wanted to showcase to the world the kind of educations we have. Because, you know, I do believe in the talents of Filipino, Mikey. With the
Tell
right
us
support.
about the skill sets and the best things about your school. Where are you strongest? What are the courses that you provide? What's in demand now? And how do you see the course curriculum changing over the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, well, if based on the THE subject ranking, we're number one in physical sciences. This is physics, chemistry,
environmental
science. We're also strong in engineering, Mikey. I think we see in the coming years, we are now studying on developing more programs that are really aligned to the future job. Like just recently, we signed a MOU with a US-based firm for the development of a nuclear science. Nuclear science is the future science. You know, we also forged a memorandum of agreement with Meralco because we'd like to develop programs on renewable energy. We are also revisiting some of the programs probably that we can offer on biomedical engineering, artificial science. Now, these are the programs that I think universities should be.
And as Chancellor, what's your next goal for MSU IIT? You set out to break through, to place in the THE Asia rankings. What's next for you? What's the next goal that you want to target?
We are ambitious, Mikey, and we wanted to probably in the coming years, in 2027 or probably 2020, that we hope we will make it to the top 500. We're not a big university, we're very young, but I believe in the capacity of our faculty and students. You know? They are the powerful drivers of this milestone. You know? I must acknowledge that, Mikey. And we are now focusing on improving our research quality. We are also strengthening some of our initiatives for our technology transfer and commercialization, because we also need to improve our research environment, you know, for us to be able to really rise up in the rankings.
All right. Well, all the best to you,
Thank
Chancellor
you.
Dito Calan, and congratulations again on the breakthrough in the THE Asia rankings. All right, we're taking a short break. Business 360 will be right back. Welcome back. DepEd teams up with the Philippine Chamber of Commerce in a push to close the gap between classroom learning needs and industry needs. Starting this school year, senior high school students will spend more time in work immersion and undergo industry-based training as part of a revamped curriculum designed to boost job readiness. Education Secretary Sunny Angara says the goal is to increase employability, encourage self-employment, and build an entrepreneurial mindset at an earlier age. DepEd is also tackling 165,000 classroom shortage through public-private partnerships while expanding nationwide programs to improve functional literacy. Teachers, too, are getting support with administrative workloads cut by over half to let them focus on actual teaching. Now, PhilHealth moves to fully cover general ward costs in public hospitals, a big step toward lowering out-of-pocket expenses for Filipino patients. PhilHealth President Edwin Mercado says the goal is to ensure no Filipino pays for basic hospital accommodation, including beds, room use, and related fees in shared wards, in line with the Universal Healthcare Law. Senator Bongo, who chairs the Senate Committee on Health, is also calling for stronger PhilHealth coverage in private hospitals, noting that in many cases, less than 1% of the total bill is covered. Now, 4 more presidential advisors are out, marking the third wave of President Marcos's cabinet shakeup as the administration tightens performance standards. This brings the total to 7 officials removed since the reorganization began, with 21 cabinet secretaries still retained. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin says those removed knew they were let go, adding that the president wants only high-caliber performance at all levels. Bersamin also warns that reviews are ongoing and even lower-ranking officials could be affected as the administration resets its governance benchmarks.
Well, if you are asking for blood, there will still be blood. But we are still undertaking continuing performance evaluations even of those undersecretaries or those lower than the cabinet rank functionaries. I assure you that this is a very sweeping and thorough evaluation being made by the President and the panel of his choice.
Senator Risa Ontiveros is urging the Senate to act on the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte, warning that further delays undermine the rule of law and public accountability at the highest levels of government. This comes after Senate President Chiz Escudero postponed the formal opening of the impeachment court, despite articles of impeachment having been filed 4 months ago. Ontiveros slams the upper house for what she's calling inaction, stressing that the public deserves transparency and due process on a matter of national importance. The impeachment court was originally scheduled to convene this week, but has been reset to June 11, the final session day before Congress goes on break.
Ngayon lang ako nakakita ng bola na dinidribble ng 4 na buwan. Kahit naman sa basketball, may shot clock. These delays are no longer procedural. They are obstructions, dressed up as protocol. It's time to follow the rules and start the process forthwith. Enough games. Time to move.
With political tensions rising and 2028 in sight, how Congress handles this case will shape public trust in institutions and signal the direction of future power blocks. Now, former Senate President Franklin Drilon is questioning the motives behind Senate President Escudero's delay of the impeachment trial against Vice President Sara Duterte, suggesting political calculations may be at play. Speaking on BNC's agenda, Drilon says it's possible some senators are intentionally avoiding the trial, raising concerns about accountability and the Senate's institutional role. He argues that refusing to facilitate the proceedings is a political act, one that he says can only be corrected through a political process.
Ako po'y hindi naniniwala na yan po ay dahilan sa legislative agenda sa kailangan na ipasa ng mga panukalang batas. Ito po'y tinatawag natin sa Senado at sa Kongreso na lame duck session. Ibig sabihin, yung mga panukalang batas na nakabinbin ay hindi kailangan maipasa ngayon dahil meron namang bagong kongreso pagdating ng last Monday of July. Kaya sa akin pong tingin ay dapat ipagpatuloy ang tungkulin po ng Senado to constitute the impeachment court at pag-usapan itong mga aligasyon sa impeachment complaint. Ngunit ako po ay also being realistic at ito po isang prosesong politikal.
Opo.
Kung hindi po haharap ang mga senador ay yan po ay political act that can be only remedied through a political process.
The engines aren't the only ones shifting gears, so is the leadership. In a rare move, Bilyonaryo Robert Coyuto Jr. makes a public appearance with his sons, hinting at a generational transition at the helm of PGA cars. Here's our mobility correspondent, G. Baroga, with this report.
The next generation of the Coyuto family is stepping out of the garage and into the spotlight. Roberto Coyuto III and Benedicto Coyuto, sons of Bilyonaryo Robert Coyuto Jr., were front and center as PGA Cars unveiled 7 new supercars in one of the biggest luxury lineups of the year. Representing 4 of the world's top marques, Audi, Bentley, Lamborghini, and Porsche, the launch showcased the company's push into high-performance hybrids and electric vehicles, with the younger Coyutos visibly taking on bigger roles in the family-led auto empire. Their father, known for keeping a low profile, made a rare public appearance at the exclusive event, a subtle but unmistakable signal of transition. One source says they're preparing for what comes next: more performance, more sustainability, and a younger generation of leadership.
PGA Cars, steered by Bilyonaryo Robert Coyuto Jr., is putting the pedal to the metal. It dropped 7 new supercars from 4 premium marques under its helm, offering powertrains that blend power and performance with high-end luxury.
Among the cars that drew attention, the RS e-tron GT, Bentley Continental GT Speed Hybrid, Lamborghini Urus SA, and a special Porsche 911 Turbo 50 Years Edition, all tailored to meet growing demand from a younger, more eco-conscious luxury market. Whether you're into roaring engines or silent sprints, there's something for everyone. Let's break it down brand by brand. Kicking things off, Audi Philippines, which is celebrating its 20th year in the country. They've already delivered 5 of the promised new models for 2025, including the RS e-tron GT and the Q8 Performance. 2 more are coming towards the end of the year, and Audi has the customers' preferences in mind.
Our clientele, they want hybrid models, they want EV models, they want combustion models. We're proud to say that Audi Philippines offers them all.
But better act fast. These top-tier Audis are in limited supply.
As the RS e-tron GT Performance and the RS Q8 Performance have a limited allocation for the Philippines, but of course we're willing to provide them and line them up properly from the factory.
Over at Bentley, 2 new beauties took center stage, the Bentayga and the Continental GT Speed Hybrids, pushing forward the brand's shift toward full electrification in 5 years.
This basically completes the lineup for Bentley for plug-in hybrids, which means we're moving towards our direction for 2030 of having an electrified lineup for all vehicle models for the Bentley brand.
Chan underscores the hybrid technology that comes with the Bentley models, sharing how the drive feels like.
Very smooth, and you don't even notice that you're shifting from electric to combustion. Of course, with the sportier models, you get that the very exciting gurgle from the engine. But other than that, the whole experience is straightforward.
Next up, the Urus SA, a plug-in hybrid SUV with sports car DNA, which was also crowned as the best car in luxury segment. The model's arrival locally aligns with the global direction of the brand. Just like Bentley, the entire lineup of Lamborghini in the country is already hybrid.
Really a positive outlook because people are dwelling into energy saving, electrification, and yet performance.
Rounding things out, Porsche showing off 2 new stunners, the 911 Turbo 50 Years and the Carrera GTS, both oozing heritage and innovation. Similar with Audi, the brand also offers 3 powertrain options to cater to the consumer's wants and needs.
First, for the Turbo 50 years, so it encapsulates the expertise of Porsche's turbo heritage. So this is the celebration of 50 years. And for the Carrera GTS, it's really how they were able to innovate the hybrid technology, using it to make the performance better and the feel of the car as if you're not driving any hybrid vehicle.
Both models were snapped up almost instantly after the launch. While PGA Cars kept mum on this year's sales targets, the outlook for 2025 is looking revved up and ready. For BNC Mobility, G. Baroga.
Once allies on tax reform and deregulation, tech billionaire Elon Musk now slams a Trump-backed spending bill, calling it a, quote, disgusting abomination that will bury the U.S. in unsustainable debt. In a series of posts on social media, Musk warns, quote, it will massively increase the already gigantic budget deficit to $2.5 trillion and burden American citizens with crushingly unsustainable debt. The Tesla and SpaceX CEO, who recently cut ties with the Trump administration, says the bill undermines fiscal discipline and derails deficit reduction efforts. The White House brushes off the criticism, however, insisting that the president's support remains unchanged. Trump's big, beautiful bill extends tax cuts, tightens federal benefits, eligibility, and raises the national debt ceiling, deepening divisions even among his former backers. The feud spotlights America's worsening fiscal position and fuels fresh uncertainty over policy stability ahead of the U.S. election cycle, with potential ripple effects for global markets. South Korea's liberal candidate Lee Jae-myung celebrates a snap election win, a victory that could reshape economic policy in Asia's fourth largest economy and shift regional business strategy. Lee tells supporters he'll seek coexistence with North Korea through dialogue and diplomacy, a message that resonates as geopolitical tensions linger. Preliminary vote tallies and exit polls show him defeating conservative Kim Moon-soo by a comfortable margin. His win may signal stronger social spending, renewed pushes for green industries, and a more cautious approach to corporate reforms, all of which could impact foreign investment flows and supply chain strategies across the Asian region. On another front, social media platform Reddit is back online after an outage that affected nearly 31,000 users worldwide. Reddit says the issue has been resolved after investigating a spike in error rates on its platform. Outage monitoring site Down Detector reports that by 3:31 p.m. Eastern Time, the number of affected users had dropped to just over 500. The disruption raises fresh questions about platform reliability at a time when social networks face increasing traffic, technical demand, and scrutiny over service stability. Now, an all-electric aircraft lands at New York's JFK Airport, a first in U.S. aviation history and a potential game changer for urban transport and global mobility markets. The 45-minute flight by U.S. firm Beta Technologies carried a pilot and 4 passengers, marking a milestone for battery-powered flight. Major transportation and aviation players are now investing in vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, seen as a cleaner, faster solution for short-haul trips and city-to-city connectivity. Beta's aircraft can travel 250 nautical miles, over 450 kilometers, on a single charge. For the global business community, this signals new opportunities in electric aviation, supply chains, and urban infrastructure as companies race to decarbonize mobility and reduce travel time.
The most transformative thing is that you drastically reduce the cost of flying. Charging this thing up and flying out here cost us about $8 in fuel, right? Of course, you have to pay for the pilot, you got to pay for the airplane, but fundamentally it's way less expensive, it's quieter, so the communities are happier.
And that's it for Business 360. I'm Maiki Oreta. Thank you for joining us, and keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.